but we don't want to do that because that district is in the process of a merger itself. This is the one where they've already figured it out once. So I'm not sure.
Well, this one in particular, so I think you're thinking of that Elmore Morrisville, which they, I believe, are in their second or third year. This is a district that was formed this July 1st.
Yeah.
So they've
So
even done one
in their memory. They haven't lost any institutional knowledge. I guess that's my point as an administrator. I don't know. I know it's a little bit of a struggle. And the old saying, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But in this case, they're already doing it. They're in the process of figuring it out. I'm not sure taking one more school, and if they're willing to accept it, and that's a big if. They may say no, but I guess I don't see the harm in saying that they should merge with the new district if the other district would be accepting of them. I don't see any harm in that.
Stacy?
I agree with you, John, conceptually, but just even like visually looking around the gym and thinking about what they introduced about what it took to take one color from this school and one color from this school, like saying that, okay, now you're going to be green, gold, and blue. Like, I think there's got to be some level of like letting some of that process take place. I think you're right. Like the wheels are greased, but to say to White River, oh, guess what? Here's one more. I mean, I guess you're right. They would have to accept them, but I'm not sure does that further the goals of Act 46? Does that just make things like neater?
Oliver's going to tell us.
Okay, Oliver.
No. Well, I was sort of in agreement with John, but then Stacy sort of turned me around here. And another way to look at this is if that district's not ready and they say no,
Then what?
they might have been ready in a few years and they say no because they're just not ready now. That sends kind of a challenging message.
So coming up with a principle, are we comfortable if a district is newly merged I mean, we're talking about districts that just formed this July, and asking them to remerge again is too much of an ask. Is that what I'm hearing from people? That if you've already merged July 1st, even though you can't force you because it's part of the exemption, we're not going to ask you to or don't find it's practical. Is that what I'm hearing?
Can we park it and come back to it?
Yes. So can we just put that idea down? Maybe just the idea, not the principle. The idea is, what do you do with a district that is by itself? It could be combined with a district that's already been merged if we ask them to.
Yeah, if you ask them.
If you ask, yeah, because precluded.
John?
I
think Oliver articulated another sort of obstacle that could be a hurdle, another consideration that could be grounds for ruling a merger impracticable, and that was orientation of students high school students to different directions. I personally would argue against that, but I think it's been offered as a something for us to consider in our laundry list of what I think we can think of as challenges or obstacles that you might regard as hurdles, and that might be taken together in some combination constituting impracticability.
Right. Good.
All right. To that end, one more.
And sorry, I just want to clarify, and there's sort of two flavors of these scenarios too, right? Because there are the districts where there is no existing relationship, and then there are some where there already is a relationship, like the MUDs and the executive.
That's actually a good segue. So if we want to go in the Secretary's report, another place that I think needs some analysis is page 60. And this is the overview of the MUDs. So that was a good segue. Thank you, Oliver. And so with this on page 60, this is sort of the Secretary's thinking behind MUDs. And it says the Secretary enacted the first voluntary merger program in 2010 when it offered tax rate reductions and other transitional assistance to districts that created a UUSD that either had a combined ADM of 1250 or resulted from a merger of at least 4 districts, the RED program. Because of their interrelationship, an existing UHSD and its member elementary districts can create a UUSD only if voters of elementary school districts approve creation of the new district. So we then look, it says in 2011, voters in 2 Chittenden SU districts defeated creation of a UUSD. And in 2012, upon the request of representatives of Chittenden East, the legislature enacted an exception to the RED program. And this is what's going to create the MUD. And so it goes through sort of like the history of the MUD, and it then goes through and gives a little bit of sort of, on page 61 towards the bottom, says the answer is less clear when the state board requests the MUD to expand to include NMED as a full pre-K through 12 member. On the one hand, the USSD board member had authority to approve the request because the NMED is already a member of the MUD for secondary grades. So the board's approval would not change the membership of the unified district, although it would expand the grades for which the NMED is a member. And it goes on and just talking about the MUD. And so what the final secretary in this, it's saying that it's really in all of these, and I just want to make sure I correct the numbers here. I think in all the MUDs, the secretary has asked that they merge. So anything within these pages that you think we need to speak about will help us find a principle. Oliver?
I think the key principle here is that they're already operating as a Union High School district. The relationship it was already established, and I, you know, to perpetuate a complex system just doesn't make any sense. So I would suggest that as a principle, there's a presumption that anyone in this category is practicable.
Other thoughts?
But are they possible?
Oh, it's definitely possible.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's definitely possible that they can be, in terms of practical. I think this is where we get down to the votes of the communities. And you know, I'm thinking of one of the communities in particular had 3 or 4 votes, and has chosen, you know, not to be part of it. We heard testimony this morning. So in terms of a complicated structure, I'm not sure how complicated it really is when you're talking about, you know, 3 boards, especially where they came from. Because you have the elementary board, and I don't know, you're going to go to examples?
Yeah, if you want to pull one
up.
up.
Why don't I wait till we get to one of the examples?
You can bring one up if that.
Okay, I was thinking of the Huntington Chittenden
Yeah.
East.
Yeah.
That's it.
And, you know, you have the elementary board, and then you have the union board, and then you have the SU board.
So the complexity is you have the union board that is responsible for pre-K through 12 for everybody except one town. So you have to now all of a sudden you have to carve out the accounting for this one other district, but then the other ones it's commingled. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I wouldn't go someplace else, so
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead. I was just gonna go back to the goals of the law, and one of them is transparency and accountability. So I think, you know, for me, that one of the areas I think we need to evaluate is what does that look like for voters? You know, you have, in these cases, you have a separate tax rate for the elementary school district, a tax rate for the union school district, and you still have a supervisory union, and increasingly with centralization, that SU budget's growing, so you have the inability of voters to vote on the SU budget. And if it's just this one district that's holding up, really, the creation of a single school district with one tax rate, with all the SU costs now embedded in a single budget, giving voters direct access to the whole thing, I think that really gets to, on the other side of the argument, why the central preferred structure really promotes better transparency and accountability. And that's something we have to weigh.
Right, and I think it's important to look, you know, I think this is the first MUD that came into existence also.
Yeah.
I think they've been functioning for 3 or 4 years now.
More than that.
But coming from a total SU structure, they have moved in the right direction. You know, the voters, the people in those towns, it got more simplified, more transparent, and you know, and to your point, the SU budget is not voted on directly by folks, because it's embedded in the UD structure, the unified district structure.